So this was the another piece of information, as in how do we schedule the refresh. Then the data transformation is fine. Modeling, we did see modeling and its associated capabilities. Okay. Today, what is Q&A? What is quick insights? So quick insights are something which is, if you go to the desktop and you go in general, you might want to see your workspace, and there are these arrow mark. These are your quick insights. So this arrow marks would help you if you go to the reports. You would like to see the reports like this. It shows how many people accessed the matrix and who was the person who accessed it. How many people, since it is nobody's access, since we've not shared with anybody, it shows 0 value. Did they view it on the sharing screen or a workspace? What was the platform? Was it mobile or a web? What was the report page did they use? Is it all few? All that can be tracked based on what they have done. Please remember, the report is automatically generated by Power BI. To generate a matrix, usage data is retained for 90 days. Changes to your report may take 24 hours to appear here. So of previous 90 days, you can have all the data which is present to be viewed in the system. Coming back to this slide, clustering, we did see clustering, calculated tables, we did calculate columns on it. Quick insights, we saw it right now. Q&A. So based on this, you can have certain Q&As enabled. So how do you enable the Q&A? When you go to, for example, settings, you would be asked, do you want to enable the Q&A or no? So this is the checkbox. Under the dashboard, you have show Q&A yes or no. If you enable it, it would come. If you don't, it will not. So this is one area. Do you want to enable Q&A or no? Coming back to our PowerPoint slide. Yes, if you go back, and change of data connectivity, as I said, it is not possible to change import to direct query, but it's possible to change direct query to import. So let's do one thing. Let's check, is it possible to change direct query to import? If I go back over here, I know I have imported 2 tables today. One was direct query, this was an import. If I change it to direct query, will it permit me? Let's have a look. It's not even selecting, right? Whereas if I go over here and I say import, it is getting changed. It also tells me an implication, as in setting the storage mode to import has the following implication. Please consider them carefully. A warning: setting storage mode to import is irreversible operation. As I said, you will not be able to switch back to a direct query. You would, by the way of deleting and re-adding it. In that, you might lose the columns. You will definitely lose the columns and the measures created in this table. This operation will refresh tables set to the import, which may take time. So this is what the drawback of the system is. So we'll have to be carefully choosing our next step and go ahead with it. Now, moving on, what do we have next? We are through with this direct query versus import. We are very clear what we did today. Now, some good practice, data and relationship. Query performance over big data. So it is more like, do you want to use direct query or do you want to use import? So you as a users interact with visuals on Power BI reports. DAX queries are submitted to the dataset. Boost queries speeds by caching the data at the aggregated level. As I said, aggregated tables are key columns from most used tables. It is a refined table having all the info. It is more like a summary table which is used over here. Using a fraction of resources required at the detail level. Unlock the big data in a way that would otherwise would be impossible. That is how. So the idea is, when you are dealing with a huge amount of data which cannot be imported in the Power BI desktop, you would definitely fall back on the direct query. But when doing the direct query, you would also have to push on certain filters so that the data which is coming into your system via direct query is up to 10 lakh rows or otherwise 1 million rows. Data refresh optimization reduce the cache size and refresh times by caching the data at aggregate level. So always have a dual mode enable and the aggregate level, which is a master table or the summary table as I call it, and speed up the time to make the data available for the users. So rather than refreshing your entire table set, you just refresh the summary table based on direct query and you are good to go. Achieve the balancing architectures. Allow the Power BI in-memory cache to handle aggregated queries, which it does effectively. Limit queries sent to the data source in the direct query mode, helping stay with concurrency limits. So there are certain concurrency limits which does not permit more query mode direct queries to be executed at once, the interest of denial of service and security. So please ensure you have that kind of balanced architecture. Queries that do not get through tend to be filtered. Transactional level queries which require data warehouse, big data system normally handle well. So these are certain good practices which we need to keep in mind when we design a Power BI dashboard through the desktop. So today we just added on certain things based on our previous understanding, and we had an in-depth understanding of the models, relationships, the one is to many and many is to one, and then cardinality and aggregate functions, and how we saw how the many to many relationship come into picture. We also saw what are the measures which are available which we can make use of in an import. We saw the difference, fundamental difference between the import and the direct query. With this, we finished data and its relationships in today's lecture.